Welcome, everybody. Just to get started, Jake's going to start us off with land acknowledgement, and we're going to check my director's interest, and then I have a minor change of the agenda.
So in my own words, we know we're in the traditional territory of the First Nations people, and maybe somebody can pronounce much better than I can. Who's
Anishinaabe.
Thank you. So we remember the people that we share this territory with, and I was just mentioning that later in the week we'll be in Algonquin Park, and we have passed a rock face, and on that rock face is pictographs, and I have no way of knowing. Have they been there for a few hundred years, or have they been there for more than 1,000 years? But clearly, it's a wonderful reminder of the peoples that came here before us, and for that, we're grateful and hope that we share this wonderful land, and hopefully we're all better for it by sharing, whether it be St. Catharines or the great outdoors that we all enjoy from time to time.
Thank you. Any declarations of interest with the issues we're covering today? All right, now I'm going to put forth a motion to not accept the agenda exactly as presented, just the materials be the same, but to put new business first. Some time constraints that some of us have, so we're going to cover quickly, and then otherwise we'll halt the agenda aside from that. So it's not for making folks there, but can I get somebody to 1, 2? Thank you. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes from July? Byron is not here to give us an update on financials, but he shows up after.
He just messaged, unfortunately.
Do you have any qualifications from the last time?
No, so shared in the link on the agenda were the links to both the Holy Budget and the Book Ready Budget, so both of which came under budget, thanks to sponsorships that we obtained. So, yeah.
With events, anybody vote? Actually, we can do it now. We'll just break the business. All right, so on to business. First, I guess.
You need a motion to chairman to accept the financials.
Oh, we do, right?
Even though
it's
you still need a motion.
All right, can I get a motion to accept the financials presented? Thank you. All right, new business, space on the board.
We can remember when we got together, the membership voted, and I think Aaron, you were the lottery winner of 3.
I don't think we should refer to where people placed on the list, or just because we're not on camera.
Okay.
But I guess we should go sitting. I mean, not aware that Sarah stepped down.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. So how can I say it? There were others that weren't voted to the board, but were close like in horseshoes, and so it just occurred to me that one consideration could be Brad from Giant Shoe.
Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
But the people who pulled in from those last spots. Yeah. Yes, I'll do one.
So I guess I can't have a conversation there because I was just thinking of marketing attributes at a time where the marketing side of our total budget has never been smaller. My recollection is when it was 2/3 of our total budget. Now it's getting down to 25% of our total budget, and so I'll try to keep it within the board conversation.
If I may respond to that, that's okay. So just quickly, the reason why our marketing budgets decreased so much is previously we outsourced and we're paying over 120 an hour. We're now doing it internally, paying much less. So we're getting a lot more bang for our buck. And I will say any discussion with regards to space on the board, I would recommend that we hold off on going through individuals that we may think warrant the space until you're reviewing the submissions and the application. If there are people that you feel would be a good person to have on the board, I encourage you to have those conversations directly with them and encourage them to get their applications in. We cannot re-accept old applications, they have to reapply.
When did the application due?
I believe it's September 11th.
Did you have any news?
Yes, I really do think that obviously that I am not always intending the governance committee. But I think it is very imperative that regardless to who is applying, that we have appropriate representation for the catchment. We have underrepresented areas in our catchment that have phenomenal people that maybe just haven't put their name forward yet. I myself am going to go talk to a few people, and but we do need representation in other areas. And some of the individuals that just say, if we were to revisit some of those applications or people that receive votes, some of those people are also on James Street, which is unbelievably represented already, which is great. It shows a lot of passion. That's fantastic, but we really need to have narratives that are happening in other areas of the catchment, and hopefully, hopefully we have some of those people apply. But I do recall a time when the rubric was formulated. This is a number of years ago now. And we didn't, Tisha did not want over representation of retail and didn't want over representation of areas. So I mean, I think we should kind of follow the same type of thing where we have, and I'm super grateful that those people put their names forward to and actually did all of that stuff at the election, but that we have representation for other areas. And I mean, even with Karen here on the East End, still the East End is underrepresented. So, yeah, especially King Street.
Right. Just a quick question. Rachel, will you finish the guideline for things you want to consider when we the applications?
We created a board matrix or like a questionnaire that I will encourage board members who have not completed that matrix to please kindly do so, because that would be very useful when we are looking to bring someone on to see what skill sets we're making.
And if September 11th is when the applications are due, are we deciding during the next board meeting?
Good question. So we can either decide during the next board meeting or we can call a separate meeting, which will need to be public.
We're discussing we can't discuss things.
We were going here to discuss names, but to make a motion, the meeting will need to be public.
All right. All right, so potentially the next board meeting where we have a special meeting set aside.
Just briefly, I agree with Jennifer that we need representation from different sectors, different areas. I don't want it to be a regulation or a rule that we have to. I've said a number of times, I just want the best people on the board. And if everybody on the board happens to be within 2 blocks of Little Chief, I want the best. I want the best. That's not to say that we should go out and encourage people from different areas, different sectors. Absolutely. Have the birds on the board is excellent, but I don't want to see the regulation. We also want to have the best, because just somebody's from the East End and they're not going to bring anything to the board or qualifications or input. I don't want to see them appointed as opposed to somebody that has more keen and a better input. So, and generally, I endorse what Jennifer's saying. Specifically, a rule or regulation, absolutely not.
Karen?
Sure. So within this process, it's slightly different, but I would in the purchase all line for folks on Teams. what I have in all my classes. We have rating criteria, right? And that's what we're, so there's a board matrix of things which are weighted. So that, location is only one aspect, right? And enthusiasm is an aspect. And it's not a question of necessarily one completely outstrips the other, but they are differently weighted, right? And when we have something where we have to address that, and an issue is wrong, where we have to address the imbalance. I think that becomes more heavily weighted than when we don't have an imbalance, right? But all of those things are very important, and you have to use your own criteria, your own weighting system, I think, to be able to address it and put your personal.
Can it be a homeowner within the BIA?
They have to, well, they has to be a
Residential.
property owner
Residential?
or a business tenant, unless they are sponsored. So for example, I'm sorry to pull out, but Stephen and Karen don't own property in the BIA, but they are nominated by corporation,
Could a homeowner be nominated
providing they are nominated by corporation.
by a business?
Well, no, it's gotta be a taxpayer on the BIA.
A business or property.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, Jen, and then if unless anybody else would want to provide the section.
Number one, any individual where Karen is appropriately calling it a weighted system. Anyone who is very valuable, that might be not accepted because they're on James Street. I'm just using that as an example. There's nothing stopping any of these people from joining a committee. All of these people can be joining committees today that and can offer their value on a committee level and not have to be on the board. It wasn't long ago, the matrix or the rubric that I was talking about, David, that was regulatory, put in place by Tisha and your board, actually. So, and that was rigorously followed.
What was put in place?
So when Tisha created the matrix, just because it's a personal experience, I'll talk about it personally. When Mike was asked to join the board several times, and then the weighted matrix weighted out of his favor because Helen's delicatessen was put into a retail category, that there was an overrepresentation of retail, and Mike was told his application was basically, really, that's why it wasn't considered. And we have the emails that show all of those things to show that this weighted system did not work in just in our favor, even though we were personally asked to join the board and to put an application forward 3 times. So that was your board that did that, David. So I just do want to, you did put in a rigorous system, and that was about 3 years ago, obviously prior to Rachel arriving. So I do feel that we should have a rigorous weighted system in place for board members so that we get the proper representation of the catchment. We do not have anyone from King Street area. We don't have anyone that is to see where the new dental clinic is. I can't remember all the street names. I'm so sorry. But and again, the East End is underrepresented. So I really do feel that that is something that we need to share, because everyone's story, Karen's story and what she brings to the table is radically different than what I bring to the table from where I am. And what is happening in the catchment is different. And it's very important that we have those people come forward and share their narrative here with everyone so that we do appropriately represent the entire catchment. And that's just my 2 cents.
I've got to challenge you with something, sorry. The matrix you're talking about was not put in a few years ago. It is not, it was never a policy. For many, many years, instructions were get a diversity, we want to see retail, restaurant, and office equally represented. That was
David,
next in stone.
David,
What
you
happened?
had no policies. You had no policies. Our board had no governance, and our DTA had no governance. So you are correct in the sense that it was a bit of the Wild West with respect to regulation here at the DTA. That is why one of the first things that Mike implemented was Matt ago was putting governance in place so that we were able to solidify these policies, because there were no checks and balances and no accountability, even though we were a city board. So this is where, if you are correct in certain instances, you can call it whatever you want, and which you did. So, I do feel that with respect to policy and regulation, it is appropriate that obviously Rachel's guidance, as our executive director, that we do put in a more appropriate city, weighted system that is, balanced, more considerations, yeah.
All right, Steve.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't bring my bylaws, so I'm sorry, I asked this question. So is there anything in the bylaws that we have that talks about these issues? That already, because in the regular election, it is just whoever applies, it's a vote, and people are voted on by all of the members. Is there a,
So that's when it's an election year.
yes, so
This
the
is
question,
term.
that's right, I'm asking, what do the bylaws say about that?
The board votes.
Just, and that's all it says?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we do have a
So
guideline.
there's no matrix, no nothing, it's just going.
We do have a guideline in place, but it is not binding. But it's something we absolutely should consider.
Okay, I'm open to consider anything, but I'm not sure we need to.
Governance is building those currently as we speak, because like I said, there was nothing in place. So, you know, getting things up to some type of acceptable level of policy takes time.
Friends, anything else before we move on to the revitalization roadmap? All right, here's your up.
So revitalization roadmap, so as we know with the councils who came in, thank you everybody who gave their time to be part of either the individual application or part of the meeting. We had tremendous input from people. It was really lovely to see the part individual sessions filled up very quickly. We had great turnout at our public meeting, which was lovely. The recommendations have been returned. I'm just currently going through them to make sure they really fit. I think here, there's a few items in the recommendations that I feel don't fit RBIA. So for example, they would like to create a real estate plan. I think it's outside of the purview. So my preference is they give us all the raw data, right? You know, the 600 surveys completed, which is fantastic. They give us photos of the public entity as well. So my preference is that we pull the data from those to come up with recommendations that really fit what we can do as a BIA and that are within our purview. I have shared the draft report, yeah, and if anybody has feedback on the draft report, on things that they're kind of like, oh, this is something to fit, or I think this is missing, or I really like this one, please give me that feedback. That will really help me know what to keep and what we need to tweak, so to speak.
It seems to have a bit of a wish list of things we can accomplish that has not feasibly within our budget.
Exactly.
I wasn't the only one who got that feeling.
Can I ask a question? What do you feel strongest in favor of, and what do you feel strongest against?
So one thing that really did stand out for me that was a win, not a win, but like that's something that I kind of missed. Was not necessarily positive, that we can fix, so to speak, is more clear delineation of where the BIA is when we start through things like, for example, our banners. We have had a tremendous request for people to use our banner this year, which is great, and we're actually getting revenue from it. But ideally, going forward, what I would like to see is for us to create almost like a top and bottom to the banners, so that when they go up, they all look the same. They all say downtown St. Catharines, you know you're in the DTA. As opposed to, we're gonna have PAC banners up, we're gonna have ISOC banners up, we're gonna have NSO banners up. None of them, unfortunately, are gonna say DTA, because we didn't have that policy going in. So that's something I want to tweak, so that we do have that, you know where you are, right? So that's one that I think I definitely want to keep and want to grow a little bit more. The other thing I think too with the report is it was one line recommendation. I'd really like to flush that out, is to keep the one line header or whatever, but then what does that mean? right? How do we delineate where are the IAs? Through a banner, through this, through that, and come up with those plans, so that it is a bit more of a strat plan as opposed to just, here's a wish list, right?
Any more on that?
Since we're talking about banners, like what happened with banners on the new Glen Bridge?
The Burgoyne Bridge is a lovely place for banners,
It is,
but they're not easy to get done. There's been a big mess. So when I first started, I was always told, not ours, nobody knows who we are, we can't touch it. And then last year, end of last year, I got a phone call from the region to say, hey, those banners are from Burgoyne Bridge, guess what, you take the responsibility. So that was a total surprise for me. And they're not easy to but again, because it's one lane and it's a regional road, so we'd have to get road closure permits, we'd have to get a road closure certified company bonded that would do the road closures. And then we would need to get an installation company as well that can do all those installations safely over height. So we haven't gone there yet, just because of those hurdles and cost, if I'm honest with you. However, we are looking to work with iStock this year to do some banners either at the beginning and end, so that there is something. And then we're also looking to work with growing for next year to do more banners potentially.
absolutely.
The region wants to charge us.
Oh, yeah.
To do the thing that they didn't do for themselves. How gracious.
So I mean, that's something that I think we should not let off, should take advantage of that. I'm going sadly into winter, so that's not a good time to do it, but I think there should be a camp out in the spring for sure.
Yeah.
But that should be the work we're going to have to spring instead of doing.
You will see a lot more banners go up soon. So NSO are putting in a ton of banners in our downtown because of their 75th anniversary.
Yeah.
So we basically said, okay, build whatever we got they are interested in, and that's what they're doing. And then, like I said, iStocks is the other one that we're working with, and now.
Do we have a process in mind to go through these, segregate these, or what's doable, what's not doable, prioritize them and flush them? Or are we looking at doing that as a facilitated thing with the actual?
We've been doing it just internally, so Anne has really taken the lead as our office manager, so and I will be honest with you, banners are a mess, and I hate them. Because they're so hard to keep track of, and they don't last.
I'm not in this particular building perspective, I'm just looking at this whole revitalization project, right, easy to disseminate and go, you know, these, okay, these ones are absolutely not really doable, and they're not in our purview. These ones are, how do we prioritize them, and then how do we flesh out the strategic plan that goes with it? And the reason why I'm asking is because when you want to include us in it, is when you will start to get buy-in.
Sure.
Right, so if we don't have a piece of that puzzle and actually saying, you know, let's embrace this, let's embrace this, let's embrace this. Now you can hold our feet to the fire, going, well, you said that this is important to you. And you've decided how to flush the set. You know, but if we're not in on that piece,
Yeah.
I'm just.
So I'm totally on board for that. I will be honest with you, I have not had time because I literally just got the raw data end of last week from the
Yeah.
so I just haven't had time to pull
It
through.
isn't something to rush, it's something to do right.
Yeah.
Right, I'd rather do 3 things at 100% and 10 things at 30.
So if I can share the raw data with people, but I will be honest, it's ugly raw data right now because it's not laid out very clearly. The survey data is a little discombobulated, so I would like to flesh it out with charts and graphs so it's a clearer visualization of what people are giving feedback on where we can, and then pull out some of those comments so that I've got a little bit more to present to the board, so that we can then go through and make those priorities. And I think it would be good to make those priorities as a board based on the data. So if we can maybe look to maybe do an extended board meeting or something next month or the month after to go through that. Yeah, or a different time for sure. That would be great.
Snacks.
The question I have, I was discussing is the audience is pretty good, but remember that bridge is out of our jurisdiction. It's not in our boundaries. Having said that, stretching them a little bit to put banners up would be a great thing. But there will be some people saying in the central core, why don't you have something here? You mean somebody with a facility that is outside of jurisdiction. Secondly, one thing, now is the time, most people hopefully are aware, we're getting the world growing in 2024. The last time, and I've been involved in all two of them, three of them, maybe this year. That in conjunction with the city, last time, we had, I think some special events and promotions from the downtown. And it was coordinated through the city, so now is not too early to speak to them and see if we can coordinate I think this would be what, 3,200, another 2,000, like 5,000, 8,000 people, so, I think we try and get it over the one.
Hold
Stephen, here.
Rachel, in preparation for going through the matrix that's here, you said you were going to review the surveys. Was there anything else you were going to do?
Also the public input photos, which are really awkward to do, but that's okay. We'll go through those.
So, just following up on Karen's comment, I'm wondering, after you do the sifting through the survey, organizing the public input, would it be helpful rather than having a board wade through all that stuff, perhaps have a strategic plan committee, maybe the chairs of the present committees, marketing, sustainability, whatever the committees are, to work with you to bring back a suggestion for them to consider, so that you've got at least 4 people or 5 people already.
If I may just toss just some input, I find, and this is just one of Dun Vision strategic planning, which I did for Purelator and a couple other companies before. I find that it's better to get everybody on the ground floor to say these were our pillars, and then have a small group go away and figure out the scrap then how. I find, because otherwise you end up, and it's just my experience, I would say, you end up getting into that thing. Oh, but I really like that one. Why didn't you pick that one? And then now you're into a half an hour discussion. Just takes a lot of time. So it just, you guys go wherever, we can go wherever we like, just as long as we're keeping our heads.
Well, there's a big difference between being prepared and being ready. So wanting to like actually push the gas, preparation part is a big difference.
As we're currently also in discussion for budget meetings, which is probably happening today, it's going to be an ongoing process. It's what we have to work with. So maybe put together some sort of comprehensive beautification plan going forward. That we have a good, and now we have the opportunity to actually look at the next 4 years versus doing just a one-to-one basis.
If anybody wants to join the budget committee, but
So I don't have any problem with what Karen's suggesting. However, if we're going to do that, we're going to need to have a structure, a process for this meeting. If we can't, because every time a hot item is mentioned, all of a sudden the board loses direction.
That's why we consider.
So any structure for the meeting, facilitated meeting, I'm happy with that. But if it's not, it'll just be, it takes 15 hours.
In case, do you have anything else about revitalization before we go on to the next one? Just all your help.
yeah, so our intern finally only see your election next week. 3 minutes. Quite a celebration. So needless to say, we are not renewing. We are actually looking to purchase a printer that is much more cost effective and it's actually even cheaper per page to print. So we need the executive to discuss and review the option at the last exec meeting. So have opted to move forward with the most cost effective option.
Bound by that forbearing Xerox cost for the next 10 years. All right, next, in that case, small business tax subclass.
So small business tax subclass, and I will just start off because we are kind of, already 35 minutes through, so I'll keep this as brief as possible because this will predominantly be looked at by our advocacy. So if anybody wants to go further on this one, please come to our advocacy committee meeting. So basically, small business tax subclass is an option that was put out by the province a couple years ago to municipalities and second-tier governments to implement, to provide a relief to commercial property owners that house small business. So basically what will happen is they can go get up to a 35% reduction in their commercial property tax. There's a few clarifications and regulations around that. And so that I think that we're going or looking to go because the tax increase was quite high. And as most people know around the table, commercial property owners do pay the higher chunk of taxes compared to residential. So this will just provide a bit of relief. The reason this was implemented was to support PIAs, was to support you know, commercialized areas like our downtown. So I do think it's a fit. I think we'll need to do a lot of advocacy around it and a lot of education around it. So if anybody's interested in going deeper on that or being part of that advocacy, please reach out.
If I can ask just one question, the reduction, is that on total tax bill we receive, including the BIA levy, or is it just on the city portion?
I believe it would just be city portion.
Okay, so that relief would not be on that, actually, one of the bottoms in the BIA assessment.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
All right, in that case, moving back to the regular for the agenda.
Are we the best now?
Financials,
Yeah.
you're on the fence.
We really don't have a chair, so I can, right?
Rachel, tell you, just because we lost our chair of events.
So at the last event committee meeting, they came up with a proposed motion for next year's event, which I think I'm very happy that we're planning much further in advance, which is way needed. So Holy, we're still waiting to confirm a date. But basically it would just be an East End typically, so St. Paul Street to Bond Court, probably in June. Block party, July 26th, 27th, full regular closure. Buska Festival, August 9th and 10th for the full closure. Parade out party for September 28th, potentially just James Street. Again, there's flexibility there, it could be moved to a different street. And Halloween, October 26th, again, James Street closure, but again, flexibility doesn't have to be James Street, it just goes with a request from those kind of organizations that do it with us.
Sorry, the after party, that's just backing off our existing closure group one does for the parade.
Yeah.
And just continue.
Yeah, basically to keep the people down, it'll be the kind of thoughts behind it, although there's really nothing exciting things that are coming. But, and then the other piece with car show, because we do feel that we should go back to Councilor Dodge with feedback, rather than kind of keep her hanging. So the proposal from the event committee is that the car show, if it is hosted downtown, not be a sole event, so it should piggyback one of the events listed. And it should be self-funded and self-organized.
Because you don't have anybody in house that can handle.
No, we just don't have anyone with the expertise regarding car shows for that, and I think it does need a specific skill set and context.
So I do notice there's a proposed motion for supporting the event closures. Any discussion about it before we?
The car show doesn't have to be yes or no, it could be, not 24, maybe 25 or something like that.
I feel like we've already pushed her off for 23. I think we need to give her a very clear, this is where, how we would support it. Can you fill those parameters? Yes, then it can happen.
All right, so in that case, if there's no other discussion, I'll move forward with the motion that CDA supports the following events: Halloween, block party, Busker Fest, after party, Halloween, for these dates, with the exception, of course, to be determined, and closures that go with them. Next, something, 1, 2.
Only for the question.
Yeah, for just the motion itself.
Okay, before you do that, does that fit into the 4 we approved?
Yeah, and then the one is back now to the Great White.
That's not 5.
That's technically a fifth because it's their closure, but we're just holding on to it.
I think the reasoning, the 4 closures that were approved last year were for this year. So I will be honest, these are the recommendations. We can go through and tweak and say which one. For example, I want my honest feedback. If it was going to lose an event closure, I would probably suggest the Halloween event because it is in October, so you can sometimes have more inclement weather during those times that may not justify a road closure. Like if it's torrential rain, probably not going to close that street.
But we only have 3 events that are doing full road. Actually, one of 2 events, they're actually. The other ones are just sections.
So 2 other occasions on James, other than.
Yeah, it looked like we have 1 in the east end, 2 full closures, and 2 are just in James Street if we take advantage of all of them. If we don't,
And if preferred, sorry to jump in, we could take out the James. So the James Street is an ideal street for a closure because it is heavy business storefronts. And that's usually why you do events to benefit them. But we could look if preferred to go to a Queen Street or to go to a different street where maybe the businesses won't, because there are some businesses on James that don't appreciate the closures. So that could be an option. So if preferred, we could take out the closure location on the last 2 to be more flexible.
I don't mind leaving it as myself as it is, because but we can back off, we don't fire, because I just don't want to deal with full road closures.
No,
I don't care as much about a few piecemeal moments here and there, because it doesn't affect my, it really gets my business. But
I do feel that whatever, I don't know, when voting comes, how tentative it is because we're voting. But I don't know what communications have happened with the city with respect to road closures due to construction. I'm sure that no one maybe expected Garden Park to be monopolized as long as it has been. If we have other condominiums going up within the catchment, we might have unexpected areas closed that we're not anticipating a year in advance, which of course, I know our communications with the city are improving. But I really do feel that that's kind of like just earmark that. That, maybe as we're 3 months out and the board is actually trying to solidify road closures for specific events with the vote, that we maybe do have a little bit more communication with the city at that time to try to preemptively manage additional road closures around if someone's about to take.
if I may, we need to know way in advance. In 3 months.
Or whatever
the
the
time of road closure, which is why I'm putting it forward now, because we need to start planning for next year, right? We've got sponsors chocolate and big block party,
Right.
and when is that happening, what's it gonna look like, and we can't hang on. So I need to give them definite. So my preference is that we get these approved, and if I need to make changes, I'll come to the board today. Just being told there's a road closure or this is something,
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, looking at the development downtown, really the only other one that is in the works right now is 88 James, and that is really kind of outside-ish of these road closures for events, but you don't see too many overlapping impacts. But obviously, if that changes, I will come to the board.
so we don't need to necessarily give you additional pivot for these things, so like.
I mean, additional ability to pivot would be ideal, because sometimes we get told like an event, for example, could be July 20, well, not that close. We would still need time to pivot, but we'd still usually have a board meeting before the event.
Rachel suggested it's already in place, we voted on it, on 4 road closures. And also, these couple on James Street, we may have others, that's at the pleasure of the board, that's pivot is a good word, so that if something comes out, right now, there's a policy in place, 4 days of road closure. Anything else, if it's valid, if it's worthwhile, come to the board, and of course, that's part of pivot. So,
We have 5 right now, technically.
we have 4.
So I'm gonna just clarify and push back slightly.
Sorry.
The motion before was for this year. These events are for next year. So we need a very different, clean motion that looks for 2021.
Next year.
Yeah, so that's why I'm saying that if we're accepting this right now, that we kind of have it in the back of our mind that as we're voting to, whenever, we're voting for this, but that we're cognizant that there's going to potentially be changes, and I don't obviously have any idea what those are, with respect to construction, potentially. It's really just, you know, a big question mark. It's more like a hurry up and wait.
I think that the point is that we have to make a plan.
Yeah.
And adjust the plan when necessary.
But in the meantime, it's gonna come down to the motion to support these.
That's right.
100%. Yes, this is the plan.
Is there any objection to it specifically, so we can have a
So
discussion?
what you have in front is 4 or 5.
It's fine, well, it's fully. It's the block party, there's one, it's the Busker Festival, which didn't happen this year, because it got put back to state fully. There's the Grape and Wine After Party, which happens with Grape and Wine. And then there's the Halloween one that we did at the stage on James Street, which we did this past year, which was quite successful. But it is technically 5, I mean, it's not full closures, they, they could be scaled back, but we can discuss it right now. If we want to discuss it, we want to break these down. We didn't have Busker Park Fest this year for logistic issues. But we've had Halloween block party. And we've had Halloween and after party, so. Because one of them took the Busker Festival closure.
Yes, I think it may have been the Halloween one.
Josh.
Yeah.
Busker Festival, at what point, what amount of closures are we considering?
We gotta pull, until we have the guys who come in to do it, we don't have a specific.
So you don't know what they need.
No, like, and for now, it's counted as full closure, so. Like, the Holy was just the East End. With Block Party and Busker Fest, Block Party and Busker Fest would be theoretically full, but they could be scaled back. But with the parade after party, it would just be whatever Grape and Wine is doing, and with Halloween, we'll probably also show James Street. But it comes down to if we want to support these for the this next year, so they can plan ahead. Because it is technically 5, but it's not, but only 2 are full.
Okay.
But 2 are full, only 2.
The other 2 are just James Street, they were not.
Right.
So we're talking,
We only,
partial is open closure and the full road closure is what you're asking.
yeah, because before we had voted for 4 full road closures, but managed to bring it back to only 2. And then, but 3 smaller things.
So total is only 3, right? Because you have on James 5. Yeah, okay.
5 events, 3 partial closures, 2 fulls.
I'm with that, I'm good with that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Grape and Wine is almost considered a full though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like
The parade,
the parade road, but then that opens up after a certain hour, right? And they just did on James Street.
Typically 3 o'clock, they just start. letting people come.
No, with some permanent, some partial. I think that's, and we can stick, we can.
Yeah, we can pivot.
So.
And we can pivot.
Oh, all right, in that case, the proposed motion is that the SCDA support the following events for 2021. And then, I guess you need a vote. All support. Everybody, yeah.
Thank you. And then can we do a quick motion on the first page, just to,
What would be that?
the motion is that we have to contact the Dodge to share that we support a partial providing not a full event needs to be governed.
All right, can I get, the proposed motion is the car show is not a sole event, it needs to be self-funded, self-organized, and back on all the other events.
Here's which one we want, which one should we think that you think.
I think it's gonna come to discussion. I don't wanna choose more than find it's a bad day, but they might find something perfect.
Are we going to, is whatever communication is gonna happen, which of course I don't know if it's happening with you already, Robin, Councilor Dodge, is it going to just come through, say yourself, Rachel, or Robin, or is it going to come up through the event committee? Yeah, okay,
It's
so
Robin's job.
is it gonna come up through the events committee and then to the board?
Yeah, so what, for car show, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna go back to Council Dodge to say, this is just voted on at the board. This is what needs to happen for us to be in support of it. Can you meet these requirements? And if so, then she will present to the event committee to say how she's gonna meet those requirements. And then the event committee and herself will probably have a discussion to figure out which event.
Perfect, thank you.
By having these dates, it really will help that organize. All right.
We need a mover, seconder.
Well, could you check? I believe in prior years when we had the car show, the city and through the representation downtown, the city felt it was such a big event, they did not charge the road closures. They just charge the, that's,
No, I think that probably was in the past.
yeah,
But that was when we had staff manning the road closures. Staff do not manage the road closures anymore. We hire Archer to do it.
okay.
So everything has changed.
Do you have an exclusivity contract with Archer or?
That's the city's choice.
Okay. Sure. Do you know how long that's for? How it's locked?
I have no idea. There's not a lot of companies that meet all the criteria or requirements.
Would anyone like to move that motion regarding the commercial?
I got one.
Jen?
Yeah, no, I.
Thank you.
Alright, all four. Stephen? Okay. That's it.
Perfect, thank you all. And then just really quickly, the event is still to come up this year, the Great Point Parade After Party on September 23rd on James Street. And actually, East End has requested a partial closure too. And then Halloween Crawl on October 20th for just James Street.
That fits within our existing,
And sorry, what was that?
that fits within our existing.
It does. Really quickly, and I don't have a bunch of that, but everybody got a manila envelope. It is not money, sorry guys. It is information on promotions, sorry parents. So Josh can hold stuff up. These are posters to put up in your windows, ready to promote the Great Wine Parade After Party. We're also encouraging businesses, and by we I really mean Kat, she's doing the lead on this. We're promoting businesses to decorate their windows for the month of September to get in the spirit of great wine or kind of prevent these. So we're giving you some options. And then we will be doing another window decorating contest that was really popular when we did it last year. So we're excited. We've got a number of businesses that are really eager to get decorating. So we hope you can add your names to the list.
My question is just about the Halloween crawl. So is that the kids pro or is it adult? And it's only on James Street,
Well, so the closure is only on James Street,
but we have a whole like thing.
oh, do you?
Do a haunted church.
Are you doing it?
We can broadcast music, we can broadcast their music. from
Love it.
people.
Yay.
And we have, yes, and, no, we're not looking at the columbarium, not the dead people. But carousel are all combining to make a
Maybe
sanctuary.
Oh, that would be
Inspired.
this year for people who love to promote that. Usually we do a bit of a map and get people to do a scavenger hunt. So that would be great. And then we also we encourage businesses to hand out candy. And so they go on the map, so the kids go door to door.
Twenty a bird. The spiral was
Love it.
Yeah, we can piggyback at the same time.
cool.
We get to, so Karen, if you
When
want,
you said James Street on
no, it's not, they're not compliant. There's no pay taking.
and it's like 3 to 6, right?
Probably like 11 to 2-ish, so that we get the tea.
We want to broadcast babies
I
in the
mean,
neighborhood.
we get so many requests to go walk downtown.
Yeah.
So if you want to maybe do some like ghost walks through the church and charge as a fundraiser. Just an idea.
We used to have, we had a congregation member who was a ghost tour, but we just moved to Nova Scotia.
They can come back.
Come back.
Sorry about that.
All right, well, next is, we're gonna move on to the sustainability. Jen, if you want to do brief, because we have the.
Actually, there's really nothing to say. Jen has a lot of work to do and Lindsay has a report. That's it.
Lindsay, it's all you.
All right, thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you today. I don't really know if there's a protocol or if I should go stand and present, or I'll just sit there. So I've provided you all with a summary of the activities that we've been doing in the Streetscape and Sustainability Department. The main one are the strategic relationships, and that's why it makes up the cover page, because a lot of these new relationships we're building will lead us to successful funding, such as grants and sponsorship opportunities. So I really want to stress the importance of building those relationships for you today. But other main things that we've been interested in developing are some skill sharing and staff training, which have provided evaluation for that. Exploring grants for the downtown, including a pending Inclusive Communities grant for $60,000. So fingers crossed we can be successful with that. But we're also exploring a carbon zero micro grant, and in the interest of time, I won't go on too long about that. But we have identified that secure bike walkouts are a challenge for promoting active transportation downtown. So we are exploring a feasibility study with that particular grant. That ties in to our Ontario by Bike district certification. So you'll notice there's a section on that as well. We are officially certified in early summer. So this will allow us to communicate some of the benefits of cycling for not only individuals and health benefits, but for our businesses as well. Something I found really interesting from the data that they shared with me is that cyclists come down more frequently, they stay longer, and they spend more money, and they tend to return to businesses that they visit. So those are some really cool, exciting things, and I'd be happy to share that.
I guess we, on the Ontario Community Environment Fund, we missed that opportunity. Is that something messed up or late on?
I think it's about building capacity, and that's why I started with those strategic relationships at the beginning. That particular Ontario Community Environment Fund requires different stakeholders to come to the table because it's a capital projects fund. So wherever we would be doing those capital projects, we would need buy-in from the landowner, and depending on the nature of the project, possibly the city or the region. We did explore one proposal at the corner of Geneva and Court Street, which I would be happy to talk about further, maybe another time. I'd be happy to share the grant with you if you're interested in what sorts of projects would be eligible in the grant. Moving on, obviously events aren't the core of what we do in the Streetscape and Sustainability Department, but I did want to highlight some of these events that we are working on because it's a portion of building out that relationship piece, which can hopefully lead to some greater things down the road. One thing I do want to spend a little bit more time highlighting is internships. Experiential learning is the buzzword behind getting students to do community-based projects in different localities. And thanks to a strong relationship with Niagara College and Brock University, we will be bringing in, again, our environmental management assessment interns in January 2024. But this fall, we'll also be bringing in an HR policy analyst from Niagara College and an economic development consultant through the tourism and geography studies at Brock University. Yes, so very excited to build that out. And I just got an email today, so unfortunately it's not recognized in this report, but we will also be working with ecosystem restoration students to do a feasibility study of our garden beds downtown. So very cool things, and the position value is an estimate based on job descriptions available at the time of creating this report. So if you're wondering, like, how did I come up to these numbers? I took the average of job descriptions available to Southern Ontario. And then last couple things that I wanted to touch on for you today. So I want to highlight a particular business, CHA. They have come to me now twice to do community cleanups downtown, and before parade and after party parade. They will be doing another cleanup with us on September 21st. So it's really great to see them motivated and want to give back in this way to the community because, I mean, obviously I'm sold, I'm part of the choir, but it's really important for people to get up there and participate in this. The other thing that you all will be more aware of is our tree report. So tree advocacy for downtown is of great interest for our Streetscape and Sustainability Committee. We ran a report last year, which has been accepted to 2 major international conferences. So in May, we presented at the International Association for Great Lakes Research Conference. And then in September, we will be presenting in Darwin, Australia at the Society for Ecological Restoration Conference. So these are great platforms for us to position our BIA strategically and attract top talent and obviously top business from around the world. So I'm really excited to represent the downtown in those possibilities.
When is that last one?
So last up in September, end of September. So coming up, so I've been hard at work preparing that presentation. And then last but not least is volunteer recruitment and coordination. It is honestly an absolute pleasure to work with the dedicated volunteers of downtown. I do want to highlight Sean Parkinson has put in a substantial amount of hours to our tree report entry advocacy downtown. He's very dedicated to pushing that narrative. Yes.
Yeah. Volunteer over 200 hours.
Yes. between last year to today, so.
Oh, and just a quick point, Sean was a previous Canada Summer student with us last year, who basically has stayed on volunteer.
Great, so fabulous to see. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Peter Tombstone as well, he's previous horticulture professor at Niagara College. He is always willing to sit down for a nice afternoon cup of tea with me in his backyard and discuss strategic planning for horticulture downtown, and has given me some great leads and ideas for the future of our streetscape, so, yes. Yes, he is a teacher at Niagara College. Yeah, he's a great guy, really interesting guy, gets great advice. And then last but not least, so we are interested in pursuing some murals downtown. Don't have anything firm on that, but I just wanted to mention it for you. That it is on my purview and I'm investigating that. And then last but not least, we went through our revitalization roadmap, very exciting process to undertake. I think it's really important to set priorities and then work towards those, like backcasting. Imagine the future we want and do everything possible to get there. So I am excited to support the downtown sustainability strategy moving forward, which in my opinion, it would be great to aim for our AGM in November to be able to start tinkering and be like working through that work plan. Anyways.
This is like the comprehensive plan you're working on. Coordinates will beautification.
Right, because yes, some major capital projects absolutely do take time, right? So. Anyways, thank you very much for letting me speak.
Very good.
Anyone have any questions before you move on?
Okay.
I saw that.
Oh, well, she did at the beginning, but
Oh.
I mean, hopefully everybody knows Lindsay is our sustainability director at the BIA. She works with us full time. We are probably the first BIA to have a sustainability director, which has really put St. Catharines on the map, especially with presenting at those two international conferences. Lindsay is like one of the only one they're advocating for sustainability initiatives in urban core.
Very good.
Just two things. Lindsay, thank you so much. I know when I'm here on a monthly basis, it is, it's challenging to express to the rest of the board how dynamic in nature the Streetscape and Sustainability Committee has become and how many incredible projects we are kind of chugging through the pipes, especially to very much like Karen was mentioning, getting all our ducks in a row. It can take quite a bit of time to get those ducks in a row, and I am so grateful to have someone as exceptional as you at the helm doing this work every single day. So I just want to say out loud to find you just how exceptional you are, and the having worked at the master's level myself, what Lindsay is producing for us here at the BIA is master's level work. So I can't even begin to express how invaluable what she is for our city and for our catchment. We would be paying exorbitant amounts of money to even get one of these executions happening. So thank you, Lindsay, infinitely. I am so grateful for you every day. I know that what you are yielding for our city is beyond measure. Number one. Number two, I know that Byron is not here today, and Josh, thank you, because you always join Streetscape and Sustainability. But I really want to say thank you to Byron, who joined last month and was of tremendous value. So, and I think that Byron did learn quite a bit about what the Streetscape and Sustainability Committee is doing, which is really not just about sustainability, but about the beautification of our downtown and what it means for all of our businesses and our community who's coming here every single day. So thank you to Byron, who came and took the time out of his busy schedule to join Streetscape, and I do feel that he found value. So thank you, Byron.
Just want to add a couple of things. So there's some activity at the former Walters Jewelers building. So there's some development taking place there. I don't know exactly what level, but I see the original plans of it, it's quite a high rise there too. So that's a plus. The Italian restaurant Sophia is not open. So that's not just some positive things, things are in the works, over and over. And, still dealing with some negativity in the downtown or with respect to cars being broken into. People causing trouble walking naked on the street. Those are not good things for our business. Middle of the day, customer comes in and said, "Did you see what's happening on St. Paul Street?" I said, "No, I didn't." You know, experiencing these kinds of things, we can do a lot of beautiful things in the downtown, for beautification and stuff like that. But when we have these types of problems in the downtown core, they need to be addressed as well. You know, my tenant got her car, people smashed in the first thing in the morning. All she had was a bunch bag there. Not good. Okay. People using the bathroom, like my neighbors there, and Justin's place on the patio, not good. Sleeping in his bed. Me driving down the street below the rate, actually seeing the lady walking naked. I didn't see her unless she had something white on, she did. She had, you know. These are problems that we need to solve. We need to deal with. It's not just beautification. It's not just new business. It's not just things. We need to deal with those things too. And I'm not sure what to do anymore, to be honest with you.
I can respond to that, okay? So, I will agree with you, there are challenges in the downtown. Yeah, so the big challenge for us is at the end of the day, we're not supposed to finish, right? So we can't be the ones going, we can be the one advocating for it, and that's the stand we take. So, for example, I sit on an outreach committee through the city, it has NASO, police, Cross Canada Bank, a whole bunch of different organizations and service providers. And I did see the same lady program the same day, done a very similar description on the Saturday when we were leading one of our walking tours. So and the challenge is if you go, she's not sick, she's in the middle of the street. So I did call 911 and police did come out. I don't know if that's the right avenue, but there's no other avenue to call. I think that's the challenge. So I did bring it up on that call. They did say continue to call the police because it's the quickest response, and they need quick response. But she's falling through the cracks, and that's I think the biggest challenge is there's so many people that are falling through the cracks in terms of support. And that's the gap that needs to be filled. And unfortunately, we're not going to fill that gap, but we can advocate to help fill that gap. And that's what we continue to do.
I know, but so this thing's going on, it's getting worse. Downtown is off the rails. Okay, in 10 days, I've had 4 different things happen in my area. You know, 4 different serious things that, you know, customer comes and sees the walking down the street. Then I'm driving down Geneva Street, or and their street on Geneva Street, one of the higher riskier areas. That's not good. Then daytime, nighttime, walking around doing these things. Now, if somebody hits her, God forbid, that's a casualty. That person who hits her is going to be dramatically, you know, affected by that. And God knows what else, of course, is going to happen with that. Then, like I said, my tenant, okay, I had a situation the other morning, window got busted in. I lost her as a tenant. Then I had to figure out something to keep her, okay, which cost me money like that. It's just not stopping. It's just ongoing.
So I will just, sorry, Josh, encourage you, when things happen, please tell me. Because if I don't know the windows are getting smashed or cars are getting broken into, I can't relay that to people who need to hear it. So please let me know when those things happen. Okay?
Well, I mean, I appreciate that very much, but I just reached out directly to the people that can make a decision on those kinds of things, and I appreciate you volunteering for that. But I didn't call to access them, okay? It was on vacation. Calling on every single person I know, he's going up to deal with this, because there has to be a solution to these problems. They are not going to go away. I feel they're getting worse and worse. And it's not just me, it's other people around us. What the hell is this? You know, you can't have this. Well,
You can call me.
I do have,
things gotta
Oh.
get checked.
Jen, David, and Karen.
All I was going to say, Blair, of course, because Karen is going to speak, because of course she's much more knowledgeable about this than I am. I really do want to highlight the wins that we've had downtown with respect to, Karen graciously, doing the tour of the bathroom, after the last meeting, after the last board meeting a month ago. I myself and Byron and a couple people attended. Karen graciously took her time to show us the bathroom and how it worked and how it's been of incredible service to our community. I really want to highlight that these are needs that are being met in our community immediately. They are working right now. And Karen graciously shared about the funding that we're having for housing here. It was something phenomenal, like $20 million. That the region and the city are working hard, that the people that are at the helm are working hard to help manage these issues. I'm not obviously saying that they're going to be solved overnight, because if you do, of course, even just go down the street to Hamilton, we are not the only downtown managing these issues. We actually probably have a much smaller issue than Hamilton, which of course I'm not even going to get into these things. But at the same time, we have incredible leaders in our community, like Karen, like our counselors, that are working incredibly hard to manage these issues with the region. And I do, not that pointing fingers or anything like that, but if I do have someone that I come in contact with that does mention something to me, and they happen to be from Welland, I remind them that the people that are downtown St. Catharines are from Welland, because we have centralized services here in St. Catharines to the region. And would they, if they can please talk to their counselors to sign Welland up for these services, or Niagara Falls, or Port Colborne, or Stony Creek, or Grimsby, or anywhere else. So this is something that St. Catharines, I feel, with the fact that we have such a delinquishing number of staff for our city, is doing a tremendous job managing this alone. And I really do hope that in time that we receive more assistance from the region, which it seems like we are, and how important it is to support these services and to support our counselors that are doing this work. And I'm just saying that, again, we have some tremendous wins that we also have to be focusing on. And that doesn't always help when you're in the weeds, but we are getting some exceptional wins because we have very good leaders advocating for our downtown and our city. And unfortunately, I don't know them all. So I'm very sorry that I don't know them all, because they are obviously doing exceptional work. And they're just grinding it out, not looking for credit every 5 seconds. So thank you to all those people.
But I'm not seeing him. I don't know what you're talking about. To be honest with you. All I see
Have David and Karen.
Forgot what I was gonna say.
Negative still, Karen.
All
I
right.
just want to give a couple of things that may help you. And first of all, if it is a mental illness or a mental health crisis, which is what you're talking about with one particular person, there's 2 ways to help. Amy actually learned that person's name, which I was able to give her, and Amy actually was able to say, Dave, which is not her name. Why don't you get off the street? And Amy was actually able to do that, and that actually helped. The other piece of the puzzle is that if you call the police to specifically say, I do have a mental health crisis, they will send a mental health worker along with that, because it is not criminal behavior, it's mental illness, right? But that will help you get that. The other piece of the puzzle is that there is no overnight shelter right now. So you've got people squatting everywhere and no places to have it. That comes into play again in November. I know that's not an answer today, but at least it gives you a little bit of hope and a little bit of broad spectrum. And by the end of that time, there should be a 24/7 shelter that's not there.
You know how many times I stopped my car and told that lady, somebody else that loves you, don't lose your way, get off.
It makes a big difference when you say somebody's name. So if I say, buddy, get off the road, you know, somebody loves you, somebody cares, or him, totally different conversation. Yeah. Because now I have your attention. When somebody's suffering with schizophrenia, this is from a mental health first aid perspective. If you can name them so that they can actually hear you, because otherwise there's lots of noise happening in here that they can't. It's just helpful. And like I said, when we talk about coming into the new year, there is a temporary permanent 3-year shelter going on for 24/7 that will not be done.
Where's Steve?
No. I have ideas, but.
David?
I've said many times that it's incumbent on this board to reach out to our members. One of the most important factors that we have is police support. The police commission takes a look and says, how many reports do we have? And I've sat here, I don't know how many times, I don't care if it's 3 beer bottles are smashed on your sidewalk. I just happen to have the most significant graffiti last Thursday that I've ever had on my Church Street. You have to phone and get an occurrence report. As long as you get that number, I don't have to see the officer. Let the officer when they want, and whether it's even mental health or something, as long as you call the police and you insist on an occurrence report, it goes down as a statistic. So when it comes to the police commission and nobody calls, they'll say, what do you people want? We don't have nobody. So I think we've got to reach out more and more to our members that I don't care what it is. It's a call to the police and insist on an occurrence number. And then whatever happens, happens. Mental health is one thing, graffiti is another thing, but we've got those statistics going to the Niagara Regional Police Commission saying, yeah, they need added services down here. So, and I'm sorry, we're not doing a good enough job in reporting to the Niagara Regional Police.
So that's why I
So,
reached out to the staff sergeant. I said, okay, but this is what's happening. Like he said,
but Orin, that's no good.
I know,
You gotta call the police and get a report. It's got a number.
well, my tenant did, she was totally devastated. You know, and what a disaster it was for that. And that day I was supposed to sign a lease with her. Do you think she wants to stay?
You're absolutely right. But again, we will not get greater police support, which is very integral. It's not the only thing for downtown, but additional police support downtown is based on statistics. So it's, what you did was admirable. But I have calling and getting the occurrence number, you've done a lot more.
On that, we call the police, we get a report.
We can't really record it, it has to be the person that's had the crime done. So even the problem.
Are we sure? We just think we saw it.
I've people before and they said it's gotta be the person that had it done.
There's just multiple things happening down the street. So it's just pop up.
We hear all sorts of things. And it's not, I'm not denying what you're saying. And I think I'm just more talking about, being solutions driven.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. Well, how are we gonna tackle this?
Yeah, I just don't think that the solutions come that easily.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Finances.
I'd love to have a solution for you.
But I think I just gave you a couple of tools that you can use and something, just mention the name is huge. Make sure when you call police, you ask for mental health, you say it's a mental health crisis, absolutely do that. And then the third thing is, not that it's an absolute solution, but there is some stuff coming out of the next region that will make a big difference.
So a little challenge with this.
Yeah, and tell me anytime.
Driver to the hospital. They're still right there, parking lot. By the time they finish the report, right down the street, the lady's over there.
We can take this off.
We do have finish, Rachel.
So I'll do a little bit and may have somebody back in case you want to add on more. So just tying into everything we're talking about actually, as a whole. So last year we did, and obviously timing, because you really took the lead on this and know way more than me. So last year we did partner in support for Adam Cole evening, in partnership with our members. So Josh, Jen, Robin, thank you for your support last year. It was very successful. It's a great way to kind of get that relationship built with people that are on our street so that we can go up and have those relationship questions or comments and say, hey, family get off the street, or, you know, we've got that rapport and it helps a lot. So if anybody would like to take part in that, we are taking on more meetings this year, next year, I guess it would be, 5. So Pat's already got most of the restaurants on board for providing food, which is great. I think we're looking for one more if anybody is interested. And then we obviously look for volunteer support for the evenings off. And any contributions in terms of like milk or creamers, coffee, that kind of stuff as well. And then Kat, I'm gonna pass to you for more marketing.
Sure. Just a quick update with marketing. So we just finished our spring marketing. You guys are familiar with the basic contest. We have all the information about it. We've been going door to door. We've spoken to 21 people so far. We've been deep into it. So there's a lot of face-to-face with business members. We've also met with Positive Living. We're going to be partnering with them on something next year. We've done, not that Sarah, by the way, is amazing. She's our part-time marketing support. We've been able to catch up on welcoming in a lot of the new businesses that are downtown. So we have 3 businesses that are up and we're just working on, I think there's 9 more to go. So there's lots of content coming. We've been helping out with our partners we did a lot with the Mighty Fest. We're doing some celebration stations just to give a boost to the amazing events that are always up there downtown forward. Gift cards, we are now in phase 2. There is a spreadsheet with information on the phases to get into if you want to learn what these are. We're launching for October, everything is on track. And then we have a new brand committee because we are creating a 4-year strategy for marketing, and we're also coming up with like a brand guide, which we've never had. And we've been working with our community partners on this one. So we've got the city, Meridian Center, NAC, Brock, all of our anchors downtown and our community downtown are meeting to work on that. So it's a really exciting committee that we got. And and we just found out we will be part of experiential learning at Brock. Big thanks to Lindsay for helping the relationship, and she's great. Lindsay's a very good partner, and they will be helping us create some content for our retail downtown. So very excited.
You have, we're ready for the government.
Yeah, sorry. Just a couple quick little things. The first one is the link to the matrix survey in the agenda. If you've not done the survey, not another survey, but it really helps with your submissions and applications to the board. And then the other piece is just at our next governance meeting, we're probably going to be reviewing both the HR policy just for update and our vision, mission, values, just to make sure they do fit and they're concise, make sense. If anybody wants to join that meeting, please let us know. And then I'll just move on to the executive director report. So this is a new addition that I thought would just be helpful to give you a bit of a synopsis of what I've been working on. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it was linked to the agenda, so you have it. I will just highlight a couple of quick things. One of my favorite things I did this year was I partnered with the St. Catherine's Museum and we hosted historical walking tours around town, and they sold out. So our last one was on Saturday, and we had people coming from Mississauga for the tour. So they've been tremendously successful, very sought after, with a wait list for all of them. And it's a different week. I found some of the historical tours of the museum would be focused on this building used to be here, it's not anymore. This business used to be here, it's not anymore, and had a bit of a negative piece. So I reached out to them last year, and Adrian is amazing. I am writing a letter to the mayor to say, like, amazing. So he was very open and said, we'd love to partner. They're missing the connection to the businesses. So we brought that connection. We're going into our restaurants, into our businesses and our retail establishments during the tour. And we were charging so that it covers cost. And we're getting coffee, samples, and so people are really getting the full experience downtown. And almost everybody that's come, we're going to be sending surveys out, but everybody that's come so far has very much said, I need to come downtown more often. I didn't realize it's here. So tremendous feedback, and I'm really excited for more to come next year. And then I guess just a couple of other quick updates on some stuff. So as some of you may remember, we did a pie festival a couple of years ago when I first started, which was tremendously successful, but we just never had the capacity to really bring it back because it's right in the middle of so many other events we do. So I'm really excited that the farmers market actually reached out to us. They're taking the lead on this initiative. We're working with them, along with Hope Arts Center. So October 5th, Pie Festival will happen again at Market Square. So we're really excited for that one. And then one other quick thing, is just, Iowa Park has a new art piece in from Marvin Hull, which is beautiful. And on September 20th, which is Tree Day, National Tree Day. Lindsay received a recognition award from NPCA. And this just shows how much she loves our downtown. Her award she requested, she could have took cash money. She said, can you use it to plant a tree in downtown?
Oh my gosh, Lindsay, thank you.
On that day, she will be planting a tree at Iowa Park. Oh, and then I guess one other quick thing that I like about, we also finalized our membership handbook. So I do have copies if anybody wants to take a quick look through. This is part of a whole folder that we hand out to new members to just provide a bit of input on what a BIA is, how they can get a hold of it, how to be involved, all that kind of stuff. So if anybody wants to take a look, let me know.
I guess, aside from anything else,
One last thing, I'd like this board to consider relating to the city, notwithstanding their differences sometimes and problems. And I think, as I drive around, the flower beds, the hanging baskets are absolutely outstanding. Go, just take a look at the James and St. Paul or wherever it is, the horticultural division of the city. It looks beautiful. They've done a magnificent job this year, and they're planting the flowers and the hanging baskets, and we appreciate it.
You want to thank someone for all the rain.
Yeah, right.
I know that we touched on, at the very beginning with respect to, electing a new person for our board and taking applications. I didn't know if we were putting an interim person in place for vice chair, or do we have a plan for that?
Good question. And you're right, I should have had it probably addressed on the agenda. No, the board needs to elect the vice
Are
chair.
we allowed to nominate someone?
Yeah, it's board decision, so yeah.
Are we allowed to nominate someone that we haven't spoken to? I nominate Karen.
Well, I think, Susie, that should be a.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm just saying it out loud, that as we put this together, I feel, Karen has been, I mean, I haven't spoken to Karen about this, so, you know, I'm blindsided you. I did speak to Rachel off the record about Karen, but I really cannot, I can't even put into words how exceptional you've been on this board and how invaluable you are to the community. And
I think you need to just, let's put it back and let's put it on the
put
agenda.
it on the agenda. I just want to
so
say,
I-
you know, Karen's amazing.
it's going to be, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Something like that, if anybody wants to help with these budget meetings, you know, the more people involved, we have a lot to deal with before we can ratify it, a very small window to get this done, so more people want to be involved in budgets, so it's just not me and David. David goes back to everything.
Not necessarily.
Just about, you do, everyone is aware that the city is doing a 3-year budget.
Yeah,
Just as we're budgeting,
yeah, it's a.
once it's locked in, it's locked in.
And they're gonna reduce property taxes, is that what you're telling us?
Pardon me?
They're reducing property taxes?
No, we're not reducing property tax.
All right, so
But everything's on the chopping block, so including flowers and baskets, so just let you.
Maybe we should compliment.
Everything's on the chopping block.
But I think we're doing the end now.
That would be everywhere, Rachel, everywhere.
Equal for all. All right, should I get a motion to adjourn? All right.
It's fucking too, so.